Howdy there. I'm David Kennedy Bird, the rector at Foundations Collegium. A couple of weeks ago, we introduced you to the character of Jennifer Smith, 28 years old, business graduate from UTC, works at Unum, spends most of her afternoons following work at the Panera Bread on Market Street in downtown Chattanooga. She's got a table out front where she'll sit, soaking up the sun, reading a current bestseller, drinking her chai latte, and just kind of chilling out. And she's a sort of a mascot at Foundations Collegium. She represents the sort of person who hasn't given a whole lot of attention to her worldview. Well, now we're going to introduce you to little Biffy, a very different sort of person. For one thing, he's half her age. But he, as far as worldview goes, he could not be more different from Jennifer. He's always thinking about his worldview, and he's always thinking about everyone else's worldview as well. A little bit about little Biffy. He's an enigma. I don't know how old he is, for starters. Somewhere between 8 and 14. I know that sounds ridiculous. That's quite a range. I can't tell. You wouldn't be able to tell either. He's ageless. He's got this little cherubic thing going on. He's quite short for his age, whatever that is. There's an innocence about him, a naivete. He's charming. He's fun. He's extremely intelligent. He is earnest. He's enthusiastic. He loves truth, and he loves God. These are the things that drive him. And in his view, loving God is the same thing as loving truth. And for him, loving truth means asking questions, lots of them. He's got this Socratic sort of a tendency to want to pin people down and ask them questions about what they believe. He discovered Jennifer Smith for the first time several years ago. He was walking down the sidewalk and he came across her sitting at her table at Panera Bread, and this was when she was in her early 20s. He just plunked right down at her table across from her and introduced himself and started asking her who she was and what's that you're reading, what do you do for a living. And at first she was very put off by it, this complete stranger, this little kid asking her all these questions, but she warmed up to him. And they've developed this odd kind of relationship ever since then. He's like, you know, the kid brother that she never had or something. And she finds him ever so slightly annoying because he's a lot more interested in her worldview than she is. And he knows exactly what questions to ask to find the pressure points in what she believes. What does she believe about God? What does she believe about the purpose of living life? What does she believe about politics and society? What does she believe about moral decision making? What does she believe about relationships? What does she believe about work and the nature of the world around her? And he will pursue a line of questioning until he is satisfied that he has a clear understanding of what the other person thinks, and just as importantly, the other person has a clear understanding of what the other person thinks. Little Biffy is like a modern-day Socrates, except, you know, this pint-sized Socrates. He asks questions because he loves truth, and he wants the person that he's talking to love truth as much as he does. He wants the person that he's talking to confront directly and openly the things that they believe, things that they may not even be aware that they believe. And that's how it's always been with Jennifer. He probably has more to do with her understanding of her own belief structure than anything that happened to her in high school or college. We encounter little Biffy all the time in the Foundations Collegium program. He's been a student at Foundations Collegium for a long time. He's sort of the archetypal Foundations Collegium student. He's the ideal, sort of the ageless, eternal, perfect representation of what a Foundations Collegium student is like. He never seems to get any older. It's kind of weird. It's a little bit creepy. His ontological status, I think, is something like Jennifer Smith's ontological status. If she exists, so does he. If she doesn't exist, he doesn't either. What do you mean by the word exist? I don't know. Let's not even go there, or it'll get strange very quickly. At any rate, little Biffy is an intrinsic part of the Foundations Collegium program. He is our mascot when it comes to a savage commitment to truth and to reality and to pursuing our questions until we get answers that are responsible and rock solid and are founded on the rock that cannot be shaken and that cannot be moved.